Before I show you the output, here's what made it possible. This is what I have in my global instructions. I've got 5 sections, a standing briefing that Cowork reads before every single session. Your identity, my role, who I work for. The next one is my work, output preferences. Lastly, how to communicate with me. We'll build yours in the setup section. This is a real engagement from last week. I've changed the company name and the people for privacy reasons, but the scenario is exactly what happened to me last week in one of my consulting jobs. Wednesday morning, I have a client AI strategy session in 3 days. In my client folder on Drive, there were 3 documents. The first is my strategy approach, the session I'd already planned and built for this client. The second document is their business context, everything I know about the company, who the people are, what they care about, and what's happened before. The third document is my call notes. They're rough, they're exactly as I typed them after our discovery calls or any communication I've had with them. Now I got 2 emails, both from Rebecca, who's the head of operations. She's organized this engagement for me, and she's been my main contact throughout. The first one arrived that morning. She's expanding the room. What was a focused 5 or 6 person operational session is now a full leadership alignment meeting. There are 12 people now. The second email, David, who's head of finance, wants a dedicated 15 to 20 minutes on accounts payable, automation, and month-end reporting. That wasn't on the agenda. He wasn't even in the scope for this engagement. That kind of changes that would normally mean a late night rebuilding everything from scratch. 3 sources, 1 task. So Cowork is running many agents or 3 agents, Gmail, Calendar, and Drive, not one after the other. It's read the emails, it's looked at the calendar session, it's confirmed that there are now 12 attendees, and it's read the 3 documents in the Drive. And then it gives me the output. And here's the document that it produced, incorporating all of the new information that it had taken from my documents, emails, and communications. Now, who's in the room? It's describing every person in the room, their role, what they need from me, and what their expectations are. Rebecca, the organizer, my champion in the room, she needs this session to feel different from the last consulting engagement they ran. That context came to me from my call notes. David, who's the head of finance, added to the room this morning. He's dealing with the fallout from an AP audit. He has a live problem and he wants 20 minutes of direct attention onto it. I didn't give Cowork character descriptions. It built every one of these from a combination of rough call notes and 2 emails that arrived this morning. The third column, what each person needs from me, is not a summary, that is a briefing. Now it's giving me 7 things that I need to do differently in order of priority. Not a summary of what changed, a set of instructions derived from comparing what the email said against what my original plan covered, the gap between them. I hadn't put this on my list. Cowork read the emails, read the call notes, and worked out what I needed. That is not a summary. That is judgment applied to context I already had sitting in a folder doing nothing. 1 brief ready before I made a single decision. Now imagine this isn't a new client. Imagine you've been working with this client organization for a year, 2 years, longer. In that case, you don't have 3 documents in the folder. You have 30 or 50 or more. Meeting notes from weekly or quarterly reviews. Emails going back 18 months. A proposal that went through 6 drafts. Call notes from 27 different conversations. Some typed properly, some not. And if you weren't the person who built the relationship from the beginning, if you've been handed it, you're now trying to read somebody else's notes and reconstruct a context that you were never part of. That can take days, and even then, you'll miss things. Claude can read these documents in minutes and put it into its context, pull the key points, it can pull patterns, and it can pull conclusions that you'll never get. Here's what gets missed, the small things. A comment someone made in passing about a concern they had. A commitment that was made verbally on a call and never formally documented. A personal detail, someone mentioned their son had just finished his degree and there had been some health pressures in the family. These things matter, not because they belong in the main brief, they'll never make it there, but because they show you're paying attention in a long-term client relationship. That's often the difference between a client who renews and one who quietly moves on. Claude can read hundreds of documents in seconds, not skim them, read them. And it can understand what's relevant to a specific moment that you're in right now. A renewal, a new proposal, a difficult conversation you know is coming. We'll show you exactly how to build that in a later video, but the principle is similar. That's why setup matters. I'm going to go through a fairly comprehensive setup and explain a whole lot of the concepts which I think are important for you to understand, because as you move forward and get more experienced, you have to have an exposure to some of the things that will change in time. What we've just covered now is a condensed snapshot of what actually happens when you do it right. I'm Jim Kennedy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.